There comes a moment in every life when you stand at the edge of who you've always been, staring into the vast unknown of who you're meant to become. The air feels different here, thinner, more real. And in that sacred silence, you hear it, a whisper from the deepest chambers of your soul, calling you toward something that terrifies and thrills you in equal measure. This is the moment Carl Jung spoke of when he said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But here's what they don't tell you about transformation. It's not just about finding yourself. It's about losing everyone who can't handle the person you're becoming. Tonight, I want to share with you a truth that will shake the very foundations of how you see relationships, growth, and the courage it takes to live authentically. Jung understood something profound about human nature, that our greatest fear isn't death, darkness, or even failure. Our greatest fear is becoming so completely ourselves that we no longer fit into the comfortable boxes others have built for us. You see, when you begin the sacred work of individuation, Jung's term for becoming whole, you don't just change your habits or your mindset, you change your frequency. You begin to vibrate at a different level of consciousness, and suddenly, the people who once felt like home start to feel like strangers in your own life. Think about the last time you felt truly, completely yourself. Not the version of you that smiles when you're dying inside. Not the one that agrees when every fiber of your being wants to scream no, but the raw, unfiltered essence of who you are when no one is watching. How long has it been since you've met that person? And more importantly, what would it cost you to become them again? Jung believed that every human being carries within them a shadow. All the parts of ourselves we've learned to hide, suppress, or deny. These aren't necessarily dark or evil parts. They're simply the aspects of our personality that didn't fit the mold of who we were supposed to be. It's a rebellious streak in the dutiful daughter, the sensitive heart in the tough guy, the wild dreamer in the practical realist. But here's where it gets beautiful and terrifying all at once. When you begin to integrate your shadow, when you start owning every magnificent, messy part of yourself, you become a mirror for everyone around you. And mirrors, as Jung knew, can be incredibly uncomfortable things. You'll lose people for refusing to play small anymore. You'll lose them when you stop apologizing for taking up space, when you stop dimming your light so others can feel comfortable in their darkness. The friend who always came to you for validation will drift away when you stop feeding their ego and start speaking truth. The partner who loved your predictability will struggle when you begin to grow in ways they never imagined possible. And this is where most people stop. This is where they shrink back into the familiar prison of who they used to be, because the cost of authenticity feels too high. But Jung had a different perspective. He understood that every relationship in your life is either supporting your growth or stunting it. There is no neutral ground in the territory of transformation. The people who truly love you, not the idea of you, not the convenient version of you, but the soul essence of who you are, these people will celebrate your evolution. They will feel honored to witness your becoming. But those who are only comfortable with your limitations, who benefited from your silence, who thrived on your uncertainty, they will feel threatened by your growth. This is not cruelty. This is not abandonment. This is the natural order of things. Just as a caterpillar must dissolve completely before it can become a butterfly, you must be willing to let parts of your old life dissolve before you can spread your wings. Jung spoke of a concept called enantiodromia, the tendency of things to change into their opposite when taken to extremes. The person who has lived a life of complete self-sacrifice will eventually swing toward healthy selfishness. The one who has always sought external validation will learn to find worth within. The people-pleaser will discover the power of their no. But here's what's profound about this process. As you change, you give others permission to change too. Your authenticity becomes a beacon, calling forth the authentic selves of those brave enough to answer. You become living proof that transformation is possible, that you don't have to remain trapped in patterns that no longer serve you. Yet the journey to authenticity is not a smooth ascent. There will be nights when you question everything, when the loneliness of being truly yourself feels heavier than the suffocation of being who others wanted you to be. There will be moments when you wonder if you've made a terrible mistake, if the relationships you've lost were worth more than the self you've found. In these moments, remember Jung's words: the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But also remember that terror and transformation are often dancing partners. The very thing that scares you most about becoming yourself is usually the exact thing the world needs you to become. You'll lose people for speaking your truth when lies would be easier. You'll lose them for setting boundaries where walls used to stand. You'll lose them for choosing growth over comfort, expansion over safety, authenticity over approval. And each loss will feel like a small death, because, in many ways, it is. It's the death of who you used to be, the death of relationships built on false foundations, the death of dreams that were never truly yours. But what emerges from these ashes is something magnificent. You begin to attract people who see you, really see you, and love what they find. You start building relationships based on truth rather than transaction, on mutual growth rather than mutual neediness. You discover that one authentic connection is worth 1,000 superficial ones. Jung understood that individuation is not a selfish process, though it may appear so from the outside. When you become fully yourself, you have more to offer the world, not less. You stop draining others with your unmet needs and start nourishing them with your overflow. You stop seeking completion in another person and start offering wholeness to your relationships. This is the paradox of authentic living. The more fully you become yourself, the more connected you feel to others. Not dependent, not needy, not desperate for validation, but connected at the soul level, where pretense falls away and truth remains. There's a story Jung often told about a man who spent his entire life trying to be the perfect son, the perfect employee, the perfect husband. He succeeded in all these roles, but felt empty inside. One day, he looked in the mirror and realized he didn't recognize the person staring back at him. He had become so good at being what others needed that he had forgotten who he was. The journey back to himself was painful. Family members accused him of being selfish when he started pursuing his own interests. Colleagues didn't understand when he stopped working late every night. His wife felt abandoned when he began setting boundaries. But slowly, as he reclaimed pieces of his authentic self, something beautiful happened. The people who truly loved him began to see him more clearly. His relationships became deeper, more genuine, more nourishing for everyone involved. This is what Jung meant when he said that becoming yourself is a privilege. It's not just about personal fulfillment, though that matters deeply. It's about the gift you give to the world when you show up as your complete, authentic self. It's about the permission you grant others to do the same. It's about the healing that happens when pretense falls away and truth takes its place. You'll lose people for this work. You'll lose the ones who preferred your wounds to your healing, your questions to your answers, your fear to your courage. You'll lose the relationships that required you to be less than you are. And in losing them, you'll discover something that Jung knew to be true, that the right people, your people, will love you not despite your authenticity, but because of it. The path of individuation is not for the faint of heart. It requires you to face your shadows, own your light, and stand in the full complexity of who you are. It demands that you love yourself enough to disappoint others, that you trust your inner compass, even when everyone else is pointing in a different direction. But here's what Jung discovered, and what you will too. On the other side of that fear, beyond the temporary loneliness, past the discomfort of change, lies a life of such authenticity and meaning that you'll wonder how you ever lived any other way. You'll wonder how you ever accepted anything less than the full expression of your soul. The people you lose in becoming yourself were never truly yours to begin with. They were attached to a version of you that wasn't real, a mask you wore to make them comfortable. The people you attract in your authenticity, these are your tribe, your soul family, the ones who see your light and reflect it back to you. Jung reminds us that the privilege of a lifetime is not just to become who you truly are, it's to do so with such completeness, such integrity that you become a beacon for others lost in the darkness of conformity. Your authenticity becomes their permission slip. Your courage becomes their inspiration. Your wholeness becomes their proof that transformation is possible. So yes, you'll lose people for this. You'll lose them for refusing to play small, for honoring your truth, for growing beyond the boundaries they set for you. But what you'll gain, the deep self-respect, the authentic connections, the sense of purpose and meaning. These gifts are worth every relationship that couldn't handle your light. Tonight, I invite you to ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped betraying yourself to keep others comfortable? What relationships would shift if you showed up fully as yourself? What dreams would you pursue if you weren't afraid of disappointing people who've never truly seen you? Jung believed that we are all born with a unique blueprint, a specific way of being that is ours alone to embody. Your job is not to be what others need you to be. Your job is to be so completely yourself that the right people are drawn to your authenticity like moths to flame. You came here to shine, not to dim your light for others' comfort. You came here to grow, not to stay small to fit in others' gardens. You came here to be yourself so fully, so completely, that your very existence becomes an invitation for others to do the same. The journey to authenticity is the hero's journey of our time. It's the courage to face your shadows, integrate your wholeness, and stand in the full power of who you are. Yes, you'll lose people along the way, but you'll find yourself. And in finding yourself, you'll discover that you were never lost. You were just waiting for permission to come home to who you've always been. If this message touched your soul, if these words stirred something deep within you, I invite you to share your commitment in the comments below. Simply write, I choose my authenticity. Let it be your declaration, your sacred vow to yourself and to the world that you're ready to step into the fullness of who you're meant to be. The world is waiting for your light. Don't keep it hidden any longer.